As the story unfolds in Mercy, Chris Pratt's character, an ex-special operations operative named Daniel Cross, lives in quiet isolation, far removed from the world he once operated in. His past is filled with missions that were never officially acknowledged, decisions that blurred the line between right and necessary, and consequences that still follow him in silence. He has built a life based on distance from conflict, from authority, and from the version of himself he used to bet the distance shatters when a message reaches him through an encrypted channel he thought had been erased years ago. It contains a single directive and a familiar signature, one that ties back to a mission he believed was finished. At first, he tries to ignore it, understanding that responding would pull him back into a world he deliberately left behind. But as pieces begin to surface, missing individuals, unexplained incidents, and subtle signs of coordinated activity, he realizes this is not a coincidence. Something has been reactivated. Cross is forced to re-enter a network that operates in the shadows, where information is fragmented and trust is limited. The people he encounters are not clearly defined as allies or enemies. They exist in a space where motives are layered and intentions are rarely transparent. Every interaction carries weight, every piece of information must be verified, and every decision has the potential to expose harm. As the narrative progresses, the scope of the situation expands. What initially appears to be a contained operation reveals itself as part of a larger system, one that operates across borders, influencing events in ways that remain invisible to most of the world. Cross begins to understand that his past missions were not isolated tasks, but components of a broader structure that is now evolving into something more dangerous. Action sequences build through controlled intensity rather than constant chaos. Each encounter is precise, grounded, and purposeful, reflecting Cross's experience and discipline. He moves efficiently, using environment, timing, and strategy to maintain the advantage. These moments contrast with quieter segments where information is gathered, analyzed, and pieced together, creating a rhythm that balances tension with progression at the same time. The emotional layer of the story deepens. Cross is not just confronting external threats, he is facing the consequences of his own past decisions. People affected by his previous actions begin to reappear, some seeking answers, others carrying their own agendas. This adds complexity to his mission, forcing him to navigate not just danger, but responsibility. As he moves closer to the center of the operation, the meaning behind the title Mercy begins to take shape. It is not just a word, it is a choice, one that defines the difference between control and compassion, between efficiency and humanity. Cross is forced into situations where the correct action is not always clear, where success may require sacrifice, and where mercy itself can be both a strength and a vulnerability. Tension builds toward a critical point where multiple threads converge. The network he is investigating begins to react, tightening control and attempting to eliminate any disruption. Cross finds himself operating with limited resources, relying on instinct and experience to stay ahead. Every move becomes more dangerous, every mistake more costly. In the final phase of this imagined Mercy, the story shifts from investigation to confrontation. Cross reaches the core of the operation, where the true objective is revealed: not chaos, but control at a level that extends beyond individual missions into global influence. The final sequences combine action, strategy, and emotional resolution, as Cross makes decisions that define not just the outcome of the mission, but the person he chooses to be moving forward. Be the end. Chris Pratt delivers a character grounded in realism, shaped by experience, and driven by purpose. As the imagined narrative of Mercy continues to expand, Daniel Cross, portrayed by Chris Pratt, moves deeper into a world that feels both familiar and fundamentally changed. The operation he has re-entered is no longer just a network of covert missions. It has evolved into a system capable of influencing decisions at levels far beyond anything he encountered in the past. Information is no longer thus gathered, it is shaped, redirected, and weaponized in ways that blur the line between truth and manipulation. Cross begins to notice a pattern in the chaos. Events that seem unrelated, financial disruptions, targeted disappearances, sudden shifts in leadership are all connected by an invisible thread. Each incident serves a purpose, creating pressure in one area to produce movement in another. This is not random, it is orchestration, and whoever is behind it is operating with a level of patience and precision that suggests long-term planning on a global scale. His approach shifts accordingly. Instead of chasing isolated leads, he starts tracking the structure itself, mapping connections, and identifying the points where influence is applied. This turns his mission into something far more complex. He is no longer just reacting, he is trying to anticipate a system that is designed to remain unseen. Every discovery leads to another layer, each one more difficult to access than the last. Tension builds as Cross encounters individuals who exist within this structure but do not fully control it. Some act as intermediaries, others as enforcers, and a few as reluctant participants who understand the danger but lack the power to resist it. These interactions are unpredictable, filled with half-truths and shifting motives. Trust becomes a calculated decision, something that must be evaluated constantly rather than assumed. Action sequences become more strategic and deliberate, reflecting the stakes of the mission. Cross avoids unnecessary conflict, choosing moments where engagement serves a clear objective. When violence does occur, it is precise and controlled, emphasizing efficiency over spectacle. Each confrontation moves the story forward, revealing information or removing obstacles rather than existing for its own sake. At the same time, the emotional weight of the story deepens. Cross begins to uncover connections between the current operation and his own past missions, realizing that decisions he once made without question may have contributed to the system he is now trying to dismantle. This realization forces him to confront not just the enemy, but his own role in shaping the world he is fighting against. It adds a layer of accountability that influences every decision he makes moving forward. As the narrative progresses, the concept of mercy becomes increasingly complex. It is no longer a simple choice between sparing or eliminating a target. It becomes a broader question about restraint, consequence, and the long-term impact of every action. Cross is forced into situations where showing mercy could compromise the mission, while withholding it could reinforce the very system he is trying to break. This tension defines the core of his character, shaping his journey as much as any external conflict. Scale of the operation continues to expand, revealing a network that operates across multiple sectors: technology, security, finance, each one contributing to a larger mechanism of control. The deeper Cross goes, the more he realizes that there is no single point of failure. The system is designed to adapt, to survive disruption, and to rebuild itself if necessary. This raises the stakes significantly, as success can no longer be measured by eliminating a single target. It requires a shift in approach, one that focuses on destabilization rather than destruction. As the story moves toward its next major turning point, Cross begins assembling a small, carefully selected group of individuals who possess the skills and knowledge needed to challenge the system. This is not a team built on trust alone, but on necessity and shared understanding. Each member brings a different perspective, creating a dynamic where ideas are tested, challenged, and refined. Together, they begin developing a plan that targets the system's dependencies, its reliance on coordination, communication, and predictability. Tension escalates as the network becomes aware of the disruption. Responses become faster, more aggressive, and more precise. Cross and his team are forced into a constant state of movement, adapting to changing conditions while maintaining focus on their objective. The pace increases, with events unfolding in rapid succession, each one pushing them closer to a confrontation that cannot be avoided. In the final stretch of this phase of mercy, everything begins to converge. The plan moves into execution, requiring perfect timing and coordination under extreme pressure. Each step carries risk, and the margin for error is minimal. The system fights back, attempting to contain the disruption and restore control, creating a series of intense sequences where strategy and instinct must work together seamlessly. Cross reaches a point where the mission and his personal journey intersect completely. The decisions he makes here will determine not just the outcome of the operation, but the direction of his own future. He must decide how far he is willing to go, what he is willing to sacrifice, and whether the concept of mercy can survive in a world built on control. Be the end of this continuation of mercy. The narrative has evolved into a layered exploration of power, responsibility, and choice. Chris Pratt carries the role with a grounded intensity, presenting a character who is not defined by action alone, but by the meaning behind it.